fellow gamers. So, if you guys don't know anything about me, because, I am brand new and you guys are probably new to this channel, but, I have been getting a few subs here and there, and I do appreciate all of you. But I have played League for about 8 years, and now I'm about a year sober, and I have not played League in, like I said, a year. Man, it's kind of wild. I am, however, going to play 2XKO when that comes out. Ironically, the only thing I uninstalled was Vanguard. I didn't even uninstall the games. I don't know why I did that. I should probably do that. Valorant was just, a way to talk to people, kind of. I don't know. I'm not much of a talker to people, but I want to look at this video from Necrit. Necrit, ironically, is one of the people who got me into League of Legends lore and made me fall in love more with two of my favorite characters, which is Yasuo and Riven. So here we go. It's League monetization is in trouble. I think they're doing like gacha stuff now.
The day I decided to talk about stuff regarding League of Legends, I did not realize I would be diving into legal stuff.
Wow.
Oh, well, here we are. In case you missed it, a few days ago, the European Union made a move on the predatory practices in gaming. The funny thing is that they are finally focusing on something that has been part of the entire microtransaction system from day one. And that's because the day microtransactions were born, they were led by people who knew how to milk people's wallets.
Right.
I mean, why else?
I have actually spent a lot on League of Legends myself. I've spent I think $4,000 on League, but that's also over a span of 8 years. I believe so. There might be a little bit more than that because I did have 8 accounts and I bought skins on some of them. Because it's I think I had a Riven only account and I bought a skin on that one, and then I had a Gwen only account and I bought her skins on that one.
Would we replace the name
I wasn't smart.
Packs with
it was only $10.
DLCs? And of course here we are specifically gonna talk about the use of premium currencies.
Wow.
Now, what is surprising is that most people don't realize that premium currencies are a really bad thing. And because people don't know about this, it kind of proves why they exist. Simply said, the real reason why premium currencies exist is because people have an idea of how much things should cost in their own native currency.
Right.
But if I see something available for Robux, I have no idea how much that is. So one purpose of the premium currencies is hiding real value. On top of this, when you buy the premium currencies, you either buy a small bundle that doesn't give you enough currency to buy something.
Dude, that is always the most annoying thing. Because if you guys don't know, I play mostly gacha games at youtube.com/BlueDemonRin. I mostly play gacha games. And man, this is something that I am very used to. Having things, you're like, man, do I want to spend, let's say, $20 or $25 to $30? Or do I want to buy that $50 bundle? I don't know. Then you start calculating in your head. And if you're someone like me as a gacha player, you're like, okay, what are the odds I get it in 30, let's say 30 is I think 10, 15 pulls. What are the odds I get it in 10 pulls? $50 will be a little bit over pity. And it's what are the odds I get it early? I don't know. And then you go for it, and then you don't get it, and you're like, well, I should have paid $50. And then you pay the extra more dollars that doesn't get you enough because the $50 is a bundle. And so you have to spend an extra dollar or two, and it's wow. By that point, you're already gone off the deep end, and you're like, man, I shouldn't have done this in the beginning. I should have just gone up on a rerun.
Which means you have to buy more, or the bundle gives you way too much. And now the next time you want to buy something, you already have some of the leftover currency.
I don't save
you
nothing.
Only have to buy the smaller pack to get it. So you buy again. Which is when you may think, sure, these are pretty
there
bad
we go,
pieces,
Genshin Impact.
So surely there has to be something
I know that
catch,
one.
Right? There has to be something positive to premium currencies.
Right.
Well, the thing is, nope. The only reason premium currencies exist is because they make more money. There is literally no other use for them. You could argue that premium currencies work for brand building. I mean, look at the famous V-Bucks or Primo Gems or Riot Points. So there could be an argument made there. However, that would only be true if the companies also didn't pull off their shenanigans with the bundles. Regardless, this
V-Bucks.
has been the case with premium currencies since the early days.
Right.
And surprisingly, this doesn't mean the infamous
Horse arm
armor.
in the scroll.
While that is considered one of the first proper microtransactions, that one was just bought for good old $2.50.
That's not bad.
No, instead, we are talking about early EA stuff. Does anyone remember BioWare points? Does anyone remember
No.
having to buy a premium currency to buy a Mass Effect DLC?
No.
While all
Is that a
other
thing?
games just sold you
That's
normal
kinda
expansion
lame.
packs for normal money because you're a normal person. Well, EA
I wouldn't go that far. I'm a person. I want to know if I'm a normal person, but go ahead.
may not have been the first one who invented this use of premium currencies,
Dude,
but
EA is just like the worst when it comes to that, right? Didn't they ruin? Oh God, what game was it? They ruined it because wasn't it? I don't remember. Hold on, let me look at these games: The Sims, Medal of Honor, Crisis. Oh God, how many of these actually have Dead Space, Dragon Age?
but they surely were.
How many of these have microtransactions? Obviously, FIFA and stuff like that, right?
They were ahead of the curve, and because it worked so well, these days simply everyone uses it.
Man, it's gotta be rough. I mean, obviously, it's not rough for them, but as I say, it's gotta be rough being ahead of the curve on something like this. You're pretty much hated at that point.
Well,
but I don't think they care.
fast forward 10 years, and after way too many people got too many cases of getting scammed by video games, which technically they are not getting scammed, they are just getting baited into paying more.
Baited.
And after many boycotts that happened from gamers, which means they did not succeed because they were done by gamers, the European Union realized, hey, those are some pretty bad practices. And just like other forms of gambling, lotteries, and addictive practices,
Right.
premium currencies and microtransactions should be regulated. Otherwise,
Oh.
things will keep getting worse, which is exactly what's been happening over the last 5 years. And so, the
Okay.
European Union gave us this. Commission and national authorities take action to protect children from harmful practices in video games.
I think they were starting to do this too, though they did it for Genshin specifically. They did it for Genshin and Cognosphere specifically. I remember that they gave them a fine of $20 million, and Genshin then went to go make I think $90 million the next month. So, let's just say they didn't really feel it that hard. And I think the month after that they did 30 million. So I think they're doing fine.
Specifically, this is an action against a game called Star Stable Online, which apparently was really good at sucking money out of parents.
Oh God, wait. Oh God, what's another game? Infinite Nikki. I think that's another game that will probably be pretty good at like taking money off of people. I've heard that Infinite Nikki is not that predatory, but I also heard that it is very predatory. I don't know. They're gacha games. You know what I'm saying?
However, even though this is focusing on this specific game, this enforcing of action will also affect everyone else. Because if other companies ignore what happened here, well, they might
that's
get the
what
same
this
strike later
is.
too. Now, in short,
I was wondering
the
what that
summary
was
that
from.
circled the internet is honestly a pretty bad summary. Especially if you move around video games and you know what's going
that makes
on,
sense.
this one is not really for you. For the most part, it is focusing on the advertising to children in video games, because throughout gaming history, there have been many cases of children bankrupting their parents in video games.
Oh fuck. Oh no. A lot of those cases have to do with us at Gacha Gamings. Whoops. Be free to play. I always advocate for being free to play. You know?
However, overall, everything is also aimed at protecting adults. So
Right.
first, here it mentions that you are not allowed to advertise to
I don't need protection. I'm spending this money willingly.
children specifically, which also means you can't urge them to quickly buy something for the game, which is where we can mention that this is not preventing from the game saying, hey, if you want the premium skin, you better pay up. It's more along the lines of showing that if you don't buy a boost or something really bad will happen to a character. Maybe they will leave, or they will get hurt, or something like that.
What? Is that a thing? Who does that?
Yep, there are games who actually urge children to buy
Oh,
something quickly to help with
no.
the characters. And you can find entire articles about this back in 2018.
What's that? And the children's gaming app Dr. Kids. It's popular with Google and Amazon app stores. Kids get a doctor, children's scan the kids, operated kids. Wow.
Next, the games are not
That's
allowed
kind
to
of
bait people
weird.
with limited time purchases.
I've
Now,
never
as
seen
far
something
as
like
I know,
that.
this is not talking about something like limited skins that are up during an event or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Those should be fine. This is more focusing on those flash sales that happen in some games,
Right.
where you can see something on sale, but it is only up for you for like an hour, and you quickly have to buy it, and no one else can see it.
Man, my favorite game, Necrit, does that every time you hit a milestone. I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I get tempted, but it's just like, no, I'm free to play.
I'm looking at you, Warcraft Rumble. The problem there is that these sales are specifically up only for the people who are more likely to buy. But then it mentions that there shouldn't be purchases hidden behind small purchases. I'm not exactly sure what kind of a game would do something like that, a Star Stable Online. I assume it is something like, hey, you buy like a small horse, but in order for
What kind
a small
of game
horse to
is
run or
this? Is
something,
this a
you have to
gacha
buy a
game?
big
No way,
stable
right?
later. I don't know, I'm making this up. And lastly, it also mentions that if an influencer is talking about a video game, they should also mention the monetization. To be fair, this should have been a thing from the very beginning.
To be fair, we all do this, right? Like, or at least all of us over here in the gacha space, we technically all do this. And in fact, a lot of us recently have all been telling people the dangers of gambling, and don't wish. Actually, being free to play is probably a lot better because you get the real satisfaction. Like the other day, I hit 2 5 stars in once. It was the most elating thing I've ever felt recently, and it's like it felt so much better because I did it completely free. That's my favorite part, dude, is to have something cool like that happen when it's just completely free, and now I have a big-breasted waifu.
Back in
All
the day,
wins.
I've
All
made
dubs
a
all
Horrorverse
around.
video or two, and yes, I still made jokes about the gacha machine. But here's the thing, after reading this, none of this really sounds that bad, right? It's not like any of this is actually gonna affect any of the big video game corporations, right? Well, that's because this summary is mostly aimed at the European parents, I guess. It is supposed to tell them, hey, we are protecting you and your children. However, should we dive into the other documents that go into more details, we may realize that this also affects someone like Riot Games. And let me tell you, that other...
I want nothing more than to see the downfall of League of Legends. I hate that game now. I want it to EOS, and I want it to EOS now.
And let me tell you, that other document is a whole another beast. One that might actually improve monetizations in gaming. So here,
cool.
the network's key principles on in-game virtual currencies is an 8-page long document, which is not that big, which is why, at the very beginning, they mentioned that this is not an exhaustive list of all the bad things companies are doing. So if you start doing something bad now...
I wonder how long that list would be if it was all of it.
Now, run. But immediately at the beginning, we have an interesting line. After talking about what virtual currencies are, they mention this. The CPC network considers in-game virtual currencies as digital representations of real-world monetary value when they serve no purpose other than, or for which other functions are secondary to providing for a method of payment, the purchase of digital content or services in video games. In other words, this is mainly focusing on games that simply have their own V-Bucks or Riot points. In theory, something like gold
gems
in World of Warcraft is fine. Because even though you can buy gold with real money, gold isn't exclusively used to buy things you would have normally just paid real money for. There, gold is part of gameplay. However, later you will see that even this might have to do some things. Because at any point, if you pay real money for currencies, there is a funny thing every video game will have to do. And yes, this also relates to stuff like Primo Gems. Because even though Primo Gems in Genshin can be earned for free, the moment you pay for them with real money, stuff will be applied. The more interesting thing for us is that, yes, in some cases, Riot is screwed. And you will see that it's all in benefit of us, the players. Mainly if you hate something like the Ancient Sparks, you might have a laugh. So
I forgot they added, or I didn't forget. I remember they added gacha gaming to this game.
The players. Mainly if you...
What is that? Who is that? Is that Zed? I'm trying to think. I think that's Zed, right? Guaranteed. S tier guaranteed in 40 rolls. Isn't that convenient? Oh, and it's 23 days long. Oh, it's almost like a Wuthering Waves patch.
You hate something like the Ancient Sparks, you might have a laugh. So next,
Cool.
the document dives into unfair commercial practices, which includes exploiting cognitive biases. In other words, the games bait you into paying. And here, according to the first principle, whenever a game has premium currencies, they are allowed to have it. So no, riot points are not going away.
Right.
But when you are spending it, you also have to show the players the real money value. This is cool, because if you go to the skins found in League, besides the 1350 RP price, they will
Battle Academia Zaya looks so good. Sorry, go ahead.
also have to show you that this is $12. To anyone with self-control when it comes to buying stuff, this won't do much. But you would be surprised how much people are willing to pay when they don't know how much they are really paying. Next, the document mentions that this price should be shown even when you are converting one currency into another one.
Okay.
Specifically, we could mention something like buying Mythic Essence with Riot Points, both of which are technically premium currencies, but they will still have to show you, theoretically, how much one Mythic Essence is now. And lastly, the
how much is
prices
that? I don't
shown
know
have to be
how much
the
that was.
base price points. If there are bundles that give you like 30% extra currency, those don't count. We're talking about the raw value. And yes, the document also mentions that earning these currencies through gameplay doesn't count, meaning you still have to show the full price regardless of what's really happening with the currency. So yes, even the glorious Primo gems are getting screwed. Which also includes the situations when you're buying gold in something like WoW. Anyway, next, the second principle dives into multiple premium currencies, which might impact Riot too. Because first, it mentions that games should avoid offering for purchase and mixing different in-game virtual currencies in one video game for purchasing.
Wait, offering, purchasing, mixing different in-game currencies in one video game purchase? I think Marvel Rivals does that, right? Because you're supposed to buy the currency and then convert that currency to another currency. Is that what they mean? Like Marvel Rivals?
Game digital content or services. This means that if a game has multiple kinds of premium currencies, they have to merge them all into one.
Yeah, that's what Marvel Rivals does. They have two different currencies. I haven't bought anything on Marvel Rivals because the base skins are all amazing. Like the characters in Marvel Rivals look top notch, so I don't really feel the need to buy that many skins, although I do want to buy Psylocke's butt skin, but that's just because I'm a Psylocke player. But other than that, I don't really feel the need to buy everyone else's skin.
In theory, this means that Ancient Sparks are gone, Mythic Essence might be in danger, and TFT's currencies are getting screwed too. These should all fall under the premium currencies category together with Riot Points. So in the future, it is possible that you will not be able to buy Ancient Sparks for Riot Points, and instead you just spend your Riot Points with the real money value as you roll on the gacha machine.
That sounds not bad.
After which there is
not bad at
number
all.
3, which might be the biggest one. This might actually change the pricing, because it mentions that games should avoid offering in-game virtual currencies only in bundles, mismatching the value of purchasable in-game digital content and services.
Man, these people did their research. That's for sure.
And denying customers the possibility to choose the specific amount of in-game virtual currency to be purchased. In other words, you are not allowed to sell bundles that don't match the price of in-game items. Which means, you know how in League you go into the store and you have a look at those 1350 RP skins? So then you decide to buy some RP and you realize, oh no, $10 don't give me enough and $20 give me way.
No way, it's gotten to the point where $10 no longer gets you a 1350 skin. When did that happen? What?
Too much. Ah, what a shame. Well, now Riot will just have to sell you the skin for $12. And that's it. Thank God. This was the most used predatory practice by far.
Oh,
and
definitely.
If this is enforced, the players will greatly benefit from this. Anyway, Principle 4 is all about information. It's just telling you that you're supposed to tell people what you're buying, what it does, what are the features, and surely there aren't any companies that would be like hiding that kind of information, right? Then Principle 5 is all about withdrawal. Funnily enough, this means that you now have the classic 14 days for a refund. But it also mentions that the game can just tell you, hey, if you buy this, there will be no refunds. And
at least, at the very least, it's okay if they tell you that up front. I'm okay with them not refunding you as long as they put it in like bold letters. You know, they're like, you can't get a refund from this. And it's like, okay, I guess at that point I'm the one risking it for myself. You know, it's gonna be on me, and I'm okay with that.
Principle 6 is all about not using weird words which might scare people. For example, you can't tell people that, hey, if you buy this item, the EU laws don't apply, because that's not how law works. What's interesting is that as part of this, companies are also not allowed to modify the value of the currencies, which means they can't legally take away your riot points if you get banned. But at the same time, modifying is also giving you RP for free, so maybe they can't give you RP anymore for sending them pictures. So maybe drawings for RP are gone. And lastly, Principle 7 is about protecting vulnerable customers, meaning that games shouldn't be designed with the idea of exploiting players for money. This could actually change the gaming industry, if this worked. Also, when designing monetization, you are not allowed to target specific demographic. This is mostly a gray area because no one can prove that, but I think it's mostly aiming at not advertising for children.
I think so too. That's what it sounds like.
Hide real money purchases behind just normal gameplay purchases. I guess there are games where a game will offer you something in a shop for like gold or something, but then you click it and you buy it for real money. I don't know if it happens.
I'm trying to think. I thought skins did that, but no, you buy the currency and then you buy the skin, so I don't think that's the same thing.
There is a whole separate point just to make sure that you do not advertise to children, damn it. Games should also have a functional parent control if it is a game for
and don't nobody care about them kids, bro. I want this stuff.
Kids. And if it is
I'm
on
gambling.
That has something
I don't
like
care
this,
about kids.
It should use the native system. For example, Switch has its own parent control. And lastly, they should avoid preying on vulnerable customers by making them pay excessive amounts of money. Now, this one might be the most vague line there is. It's basically a backdoor for the situations where some companies are doing something really bad, but right now we are not sure what that bad thing might be. Because in theory, gacha games should fall under excessive amounts of money. But the thing is that gacha games have a theoretical cap on how much you want to spend on a game. Because sure, it will cost you like $5,000 to cap off a character in Genshin, but in theory, you don't pay more than that because you already have them maxed out.
In theory, it could cost around $2,000, but you could just roll better Omega LOL, and then you'll get the character for like $600. See, you gotta think of it that way.
There are some other games,
that gambler
such as
mindset.
Lost Ark, that don't have this. There, you pay to upgrade items which only have a chance of upgrading. So theoretically, you can just keep paying more and more. Though I think they later implemented some kind of a cap on how much players can actually spend
thank God. That sounds awful, dude.
Day. And in theory, Genshin also has something like that, where you can just keep paying for rolling on like artifacts and stuff. So,
yes. Because I think, is there a cap for daily refresh? So people, if you guys don't know, you can refresh your stamina every day. You have around 200 stamina. Regular domains cost like 20. Bosses are like 40 for just to give a quick rundown. And in Genshin, you can pay, I think it's about $1 for 60 primos, which will refresh you. And I think you could only refresh 5 times a day. I think. I don't really know. I've never paid, and I don't know anyone who has. But you have that chance. Although, you can do it once a day, technically for free, if you do your dailies, and then you use your primos on that.
I think no one is safe. But that is kinda it. Overall, this is a pretty good move from the EU, although it might also be a bit vague. The most important thing here is the bundles. Everything else is mostly a gray area.
The bundles are
on
huge.
purpose. It is mostly aimed at the games that are really focusing on bankrupting people on purpose.
Right.
And so, after this was released, and after Star Stable Online was given 1 month to remove their predatory practices, will anything change? Well, nope. I am pretty sure nothing will happen until one big corporation gets hit. Because in theory, there is enough gray area where everyone will just say, hey, I'm not part of this problem. And so I bet everyone will just sit quietly until someone gets hit. And when that happens, then we might get to see some kind of a change. It may start with EA and their FIFA shenanigans. Or it may start with
darn
Riot
you,
Games.
FIFA.
But the moment the first company falls, everyone will follow.
Right.
And so finally, 10 years later, we might get back to just buying good old horse armor for $2.50.
I mean, it's not the worst price, I will say that. It could definitely be a lot worse. Chat, at the very least, it's not like $6,000 for a horse armor. And not even just for the horse armor, just to get the chance to roll on that horse armor. This was pretty interesting. I didn't know a lot of this stuff that was happening. I heard about it, but I never really checked it out. And this does affect a lot of games, especially us over here in the gacha games. I do want to see where this goes because, you know, when the US came after Genshin Impact, they just kind of paid the fine and said, hey, you know, we didn't do this, but whatever. You know, I want to see how this kind of implication really works out in these kinds of games. Anyways, chat, I hope you guys like this video. Comment, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you gamers in the next one. Bye.